Breaking news for all Iraqi dinar holders. Something big is happening, and you need to hear this. U.S. banks are now reportedly in active discussions surrounding 25,000 dinar note exchanges, and signs of a revaluation, yes, an RV, are finally starting to surface. Could this be the moment so many investors have been waiting for? People are talking. Bank employees are whispering. And inside Iraq, officials are quietly preparing the country for a currency shift. If you're someone holding on to physical dinar, whether it's in your safe, drawer, or safety deposit box, then this could be the most important update you've heard in years. Stay tuned because we're going to break down exactly what's happening both inside and outside Iraq, and what it could mean for you. This is not hype. This is not rumor. These are real movements. Let's break it all down together. Let's start with what's happening right now. U.S. bank insiders are reporting internal memos and meetings regarding the possibility of currency revaluations in select foreign currencies. And yes, the Iraqi dinar is on that list. Specifically, there's growing attention around the 25,000 dinar note, which has become a kind of symbol for this speculative investment. Why this note? Because it represents the highest face value most people hold. For years, investors have waited patiently, some skeptically, for signs that Iraq might revalue its currency. But today, in 2025, we're seeing real conversations happening in banking circles. Some institutions are reportedly training staff on how to handle large currency exchanges, including steps on identifying dinar notes, logging exchange requests, and preparing for possible RV-related procedure. While nothing is official just yet, the activity alone is a huge shift from the silence we've seen for the past decade. Now let's take a closer look at what happens outside Iraq with these 25K notes. For years, people across the Europe and other parts of the world have been holding on to these large denomination notes. These are not used in daily transactions, but are stored purely as speculation, with hopes that one day the exchange rate will rise and the notes can be traded in for real profit. A 25,000 Iraqi dinar note, at today's rate, is only worth around a $9. But if Iraq were to revalue and set the rate to $3 per dinar, that same note could become worth $7. That's the dream. And with U.S. banks finally engaging in behind-the-scenes prep, that dream might be inching closer to reality. But it's important to know the difference between what's happening inside Iraq versus outside. They are connected, but not identical. Inside Iraq, the central bank has been focusing on a plan known as deleting the zeros. This does not mean people lose money. Instead, it's about removing extra zeros from the physical currency to make daily transactions more manageable. For example, a 25,000 dinar note becomes a 25 dinar note, but still buys the same amount of goods. It's all about simplifying accounting, payments, and reducing the psychological impact of inflation. New currency will be printed with smaller numbers, and old notes will be swapped out. This process helps Iraq modernize its financial system. But here's the kicker. Outside Iraq, those big number notes still hold their face value. And that's why holders are watching the revaluation signs so close. If a new rate is set internationally, the old notes could be worth a lot more when exchanged, if banks accept them. Many people ask, if Iraq deletes the zeros, will my 25,000 note be worthless? The short answer is no, at least not right away. The deletion of zeros affects in-country usage, not necessarily international holders. Those with physical notes outside Iraq are essentially participating in a high-risk, high-reward speculation. The value of those notes won't change unless Iraq publicly revalues and sets a new exchange rate, which then must be accepted by international banks. That's where today's buzz comes in. If banks are preparing, even just internally, for possible exchanges, it could be a signal that talks are happening between central banks. However, remember, no official public revaluation has been declared yet, but it's closer now than it's ever been. Iraq is doing more than just deleting zero. In 2025, their focus has been on financial stability, reducing corruption, and rebuilding economic confidence. The introduction of smaller denomination notes helps with local transactions and allows salaries, market prices, and public accounting to operate more smoothly. This is all part of restoring long-term credibility in the dinar. Meanwhile, behind the scenes, the Central Bank of Iraq has been engaging with IMF policies, updating banking regulations, and encouraging foreign investment. All of these steps matter because a currency revaluation doesn't just happen, it's a process. Iraq needs to create enough financial and political stability to make a revaluation sustainable. That's exactly what appears to be happening now. Let's return to the question of US Bank. Why would they even bother preparing for dinar exchanges unless something was brewing? Several financial institutions, though not officially named, have begun quiet internal reviews on how to handle a high-volume currency swap event. This includes training, software updates, and fraud detection measures, even though these banks are not yet publicly confirming any exchange procedures. The preparation itself sends a clear message, whether it's Chase, Wells Fargo, Bank of America, or others. No major US bank dedicates resources unless they see potential value. Could this be a test run? Could this be early preparation for something larger? Only time will tell. But for dinar holders, the signs are better than they've been in years. Now, here's a common misconception that needs clearing up. Won't Iraq just block people from outside the country from exchanging old notes? Not exactly. While Iraq can impose limits on how much currency flows out, they cannot easily control what's already out. Many dinar holders purchased their notes legally years ago, and as long as a recognized exchange rate is set and international banks agree to the terms, those notes may be eligible for exchange. What Iraq might do is limit local timeframes, like giving citizens 60 days to swap old notes for new ones. But outside, those who still hold notes are simply waiting for international recognition of the new rate. That's why watching US banking activity is so important right now. So what does this mean for you if you hold dinar? First, keep your notes safe and documented. If you have 25K notes, make sure you know where they are and that they are authentic. When or if the RV is announced, banks may only accept notes in pristine condition or from certified source. Second, stay updated. Don't fall for wild rumors or pump-and-dump Telegram groups. Instead, follow credible updates from actual financial channels. Finally, don't panic. Revaluation is not a lottery. It's a government policy decision based on economics, not emotion. If it happens, it will unfold step by step. But based on today's breaking developments, we may finally be heading in that direction. Another thing to watch is the time. If Iraq makes a revaluation announcement, it will likely come with clear guidelines: what notes are accepted, what the exchange windows are, and what documentation is needed. The central bank will want to avoid chaos, both inside and outside the country. Remember, this isn't just about money, it's about public trust, investor confidence, and long-term economic planning. So yes, you may hear RV buzz everywhere, but the official policy will come with structure. The biggest mistake dinar holders can make is rushing into black market exchanges or unofficial sources. When the time comes, the right process will be available, and possibly through your local bank. You might be wondering, has anything like this ever worked before? Absolutely. Turkey did it, Brazil did it, even Russia and Zimbabwe have tried similar methods. In 2005, Turkey removed 6 zeros from its currency and restored faith in the lira. Inflation had made their currency almost unusable, but redenomination helped fix. Iraq is looking at the same model: delete zeros, reintroduce new notes, and reset public confidence. The difference here is that people around the world are holding the Iraqi dinar as a speculation currency, hoping a revaluation comes after the deletion. So in some ways, this could be the most significant currency transformation the world has seen in a long time, especially if international banks agree to honor new rates. Another factor that adds credibility to the RV talk is Iraq's growing oil export. With global energy markets in flux, Iraq has increased oil output and is gaining financial leverage. This strengthens the country's position and gives its central bank more power to back its currency. A strong export base means stronger national reserves, and that makes a revaluation more realistic. Currency value isn't based on hopes. It's backed by resources, trade, and market confidence. As Iraq stabilizes, and as oil revenues flow in, the dinar becomes more credible and potentially more valuable on the global stage. This is one of the economic signals that could drive a revaluation to happen sooner rather than later. Let's also talk about the risk. Holding dinar is not a guaranteed win. It's not a stock. It's not a savings account. It's a foreign currency being held outside its home country in the hopes of future value. If Iraq decides not to revalue, or if international systems reject the change, then holders may be stuck with notes that never rise in worth. That's why you must treat this as speculation. High risk, high reward. But for those who got in early and held on patiently, today's news gives real reason for cautious optimism. Just don't go all in unless you can afford the risk, and stay smart, not emotional. So what's next? Keep your ears open. Watch what the US banks are doing. If they begin public exchanges or start issuing official guidance, that's your biggest green light. Until then, hold your notes, stay informed, and avoid hype-based decisions. This channel will keep you updated with every real movement, every confirmed report, and every official step from the Central Bank of Iraq or US financial institutions. We're closer now than ever before. A potential revaluation is no longer just a dream. It's on the radar. If you've held on this long, you owe it to yourself to stay sharp. Like, subscribe, and share this video with every dinar holder you know. This could be the update that changes everything. Stay strong, stay focused, and we'll see you in the next report.